Well, it's about a time where we now bring you the first part of our conversation for today. Now, a number of policies and measures by the Central Bank of Nigeria geared towards protecting the Naira from hitting the bottom. The foreign exchange market do not seem to have satisfactorily yielded the desired results, as the Naira has been on a free fall in recent weeks, depreciating to about 430 Naira per dollar at the official market, which is known as the investors and exporters window. And then we have it trading at about 710 Naira per dollar at the parallel market, which is popularly also called the black market, as at last week. Now, according to the Apex Bank, many of its other initiatives are aimed at diversifying the Nigerian economy, stimulating production, enhancing inflow of foreign exchange, maintaining the stability of the Naira against other currencies, and reducing foreign exchange demand pressure. However, a record slide in the value of the Naira to 710 Naira to the US dollar with little or no likelihood of improvement anytime soon has left analysts agitated that the local currency could weaken to as low as 1,000 Naira to the US dollar should the dangerous trend remain unabated. A development that has worsened the country's inflation rate, which is currently pegged at 10.6%, and that's according to reports from the National Bureau of Statistics. Well, joining me now to discuss this and much more from our Abuja studio and look at the insights we have into this development, I have with me economist and chief executive officer of Global Analytical Consultant Limited, Dr. Tokpe Fasha. Thank you very much for joining us on the show today.
Thanks for inviting me.
Now, let's start first with the state of the Nigerian economy. Various analysts have been doling out their views about the state of the Nigerian economy vis-a-vis the developments we've seen within the global and then regional belt. Can you oblige us with your viewpoint, the perspective you share about the state of the Nigerian economy today, especially as we're marking the half-year point and already into the second half of the year?
Well, about the economy in general, it's not particularly good. It's difficult to find upsides to it. There's everything that's wrong with the global economy now, and indeed, everybody is actually perking up for perhaps another global recession around the corner. So we don't expect the numbers to be so good, but again, it also behooves on us to work harder and be more dynamic and creative to get the economy out of the slum that it probably is now. We have the last reported GDP growth rate was 3.11%, but of course the MPC under the auspices of the CBN has had to increase policy rate by about 2.5% in their last two meetings. And what that will do, just like it has done elsewhere, is to slow down growth. You can see that in the U.S., they're technically the recession, haven't reported 2 quarters back-to-back of GDP, loss in GDP and so on. Now, negative growth in GDP. So they're just watching out. If it continues, then they'll probably declare a proper recession. But why is that likely to be so? Because the U.S. is also increasing rates. The last time it was 0.75%. Before that, it was 0.25%. And they are even promising to increase rates more, at least twice more this year. So, I think that we should generally expect perhaps a global recession.
And talking about the state of the Nigerian economy, we also have to look at beyond the global recession, the domestic intricacies we have to deal with, rising inflation and also the volatility in the foreign exchange market as well. What do you think are the main problems of our exchange rate base at this point in time, despite all of the interventions by the CBN?
The problem with our exchange rate is perennial. It's not something that started today or last year. It's something that's been with us. It also goes back to our lifestyle as well. But again, let's think about the productivity of this economy. There are two things. In terms of economic complexity, which is the knowledge quotient that goes into the goods and services that we produce in this country and that we sell, Nigeria is number 127 out of 131 countries sampled. In fact, number 128. So what that means is that as big as we are in this country, as educated as we are, as proud as we are, we don't add value to anything. We just buy stuff and use. And that's a shame, really, because we're in the same zone as maybe Papua New Guinea and a few other African countries. I think this should be an emergency for us. So on the level of economic complexity, we're not doing well at all. And what that means is that, you know, if you look at our exports, you probably will see things like cocoa, ginger, sesame in raw form, okra, yam, cassava, and all of that. You know, I mean, so we're not doing well. And of course, if you look at the import side, our biggest import is technology. When you look at, for example, cars, for example, laptops, phones. Phones alone, we import almost $1 billion worth of phones officially every year. Maybe those who sell, those who resell, and so on. So, you know, if you look at the profile of our imports, our first 12 imports into this country, according to Trading Economics, our first 12 imports are in the billion-dollar zone. Okay, we're talking of even things like, if you like, you know, milk, fish, that we still import, $900 million worth of some of those, you know, not to talk of the technology I mentioned, the petroleum that we import, the diesel and all of that, you know. So our first 12 imports, including pharmaceuticals and so on, are in the billion dollars. However, when you look at the export side, only our crude oil and gas are in billions. And of course, when we export crude oil, perhaps only 30% is ours, according to Naira. Okay, and of the part that is ours, we also offset by bringing in refined petroleum and diesel and all of that, AGO, you know, jet A1 fuel and so on. You know, so we're in a perennial balance of payment crisis. And this says basically that all of us should double up. The government will try, but you know, but the people have to kick in at some point. There are other things that intervene. Of course, people will talk about insecurity and what have you. But even before this insecurity became a major problem, the point is that we were living on borrowed time. And I think this has caught up with us now. You know, so we have this perennial balance. And so everybody knows that what makes a country's currency strong is the volume and sophistication and the value of what you export into the international market. And of course, if you look at it on balance, we're not doing much at all. That's the truth. And if I may even just conclude with this, we all now have become speculators on the dollar and the Naira. Everybody owns a DOM account now. And indeed, in financial market terms, we are shorting our own currency. Almost every Nigeria is shorting the currency. If you tell that to a financial markets person, they'll be very alarmed because we're expressing lack of confidence in our own currency, either by what we say, what we do, what we put out there on social media. And, you know, this is a game that nobody wins. The only people who will benefit will be those who have a lot of money stashed up in dollars. But then again, for them to make that gain, they have to cycle back into the Naira. But if we continue the way we're going to kill the country.
Okay, now, Dr. Fasher, let's also take a look at the reality of the speculation, which you just made mention of. The fact that we have this heavy noise from speculators is not going anywhere anytime soon, irrespective of the CBN's move to stop allocation to the broad exchange operators as well. Now, to what extent now do you think within the short, medium and long term can we have now a clearer monetary policy direction that would see the Naira come back afloat and sustainably be trading against the greenback and other global currencies much more favorably beyond what we have today? To what extent do you think we can have short, medium and long term
the central bank has taken several policies,
but is that enough?
Including what you said. I mean, there was a time we had officially about 6,000 bureau de change in this country. Now, bureau de change, their job is actually around tourism. Nigeria is not a tourist country. A country like UAE, which is a tourist country like in Dubai, they have 130 till tomorrow. In the UK, which is another tourist country, they have about 145. And then Nigeria had 6,000 officially, perhaps unofficially, close to 10,000 at some point. And all these guys will go to CBN and get, at some point, maybe it was $30,000 every week. And in fact, before they leave the banking hall of the CBN, those who finance them will collect the money, they take their commission, everybody walks away. Glad when indeed the central bank moved against that currency. That was the way to go. But the central bank is also trying several things on the short term. For example, there's this RT200 policy, whereby they pay those who export value-added products about 65 Naira on every dollar to bridge the gap between the official and what they call the parallel or black market trade. It is a fact that no central bank should reckon with black market rate because it's black market because it's black market. It's supposed to be illegal. But of course we know our realities. Therefore, in the long term, what we need is political will to move against the black market and make it more difficult for Nigerians to speculate against their currency. I like to quote, usually I like to quote Margaret Thatcher and Joseph Stalin, that to destroy a country, the first thing you do is to debauch its currency. To destroy a country, the first thing you do is debauch its currency. The more Naira becomes closer and closer to toilet paper, we are destroying our currency. Our currency is our representation, is our pride. And of course, when we talk about market forces determining the price of currencies, we also have to understand that every country comes out with a strong currency. No country would come out with a weak currency. But so what you do is then produce and innovate to ensure your currency remains strong. And of course, sometimes you have to give in. Sometimes you have to strategically reduce your currency's value. But you cannot be a serious country, and in fact, you cannot survive as a country into the long run with a currency that's tending towards paper. Okay, so that's one thing we must know. We may think that we're being smart, but we're not smart in the long run if we debauch our currency and everybody begins to run around in the streets and so on. Because the way it works is this: when those who have a lot of money, for example, corrupt people, corrupt politicians, who have billions in dollars stashed up somewhere, But you should remember that there's inflationary effect because the more you dollarize the system, the more the Naira loses value and the more expensive staple goods become in the market. However, the majority of our people who have no access to these dollars, they have to go to the same market. The day they don't have food to eat and they cannot survive, they're going to come for those people who think they're smart. So if you're a middle income earner, you may think it's a smart thing to do. Yes, you can ride the wave, but I think that this country is getting to a point where a serious move needs to be made, like was made in India, against what they call black money in India. We cannot have a situation where everybody is keeping dollars in Nigeria. In keeping dollars, you're expressing lack of faith in your own country's currency. We're not saying there shouldn't be speculators. Institutional investors can speculate, but where everybody in the country believes that the currency is going to be rubbish, of course it becomes rubbish, and that country will not survive. It is cast in stone in international finance. It's what is called the second generation of currency crisis, where people believe that the value of their currency will fall, therefore it will fall. It's called self-fulfilling prophecy.
Okay, Dr. Fashua, now let's also look at the bigger picture of this lingering forex scarcity that we have to deal with. You take a look at sectors like the manufacturing sector, aviation sector. Now, these are sectors of the economy that have taken a very huge hit from COVID-19 to the exacerbated pressure from the Russia-Ukraine crisis and now dealing with this lingering forex scarcity. Do you think there will come a time where we'll see increased allocations to the banks so that then we can meet this demand pressure? Do you think we can have that
Absolutely.
in the short term, at least to aid the recovery pattern? Because these sectors of the economy will continue to bleed so far as the scarcity persists.
You're very correct, and absolutely so, because, but you see, without making the political move and saying the right things and letting our people understand the implication of what they're doing to themselves, their country. I mean, of course, I know that we have people who don't want Nigeria to survive. Nigerians who don't want Nigeria to survive. And of course, everybody wants to make a quick buck. Everybody is smart in Nigeria. All of that is real. But you see, there's a gap that hasn't been filled by government, especially at the very top leadership level. This is not a central bank issue. Okay, I mean, you can, abuse the central bank till tomorrow. We know what the issues are. So you have to make that political move to let people understand that, look, your currency is you, your currency is your pride, your currency is your future, your currency is your representation. And so you cannot express, all of us cannot express a negative view of our currency. I mean, it's simple. Anybody can do that to say, look, Naira is going to fall and therefore it falls. So, but you see, one of the things that regulators must be ready to do, especially the central bank, is that, the parallel market or black market is a thin market. It's easily accessible, and therefore you can say it's efficient. You can park by the roadside and change $100 and drive off. But the real market, which is the official market, where people make hundreds of millions of dollars of demand every week, is inefficient. Even ordinary BTA, it's so much trouble to get the BTA. If probably you don't know a big man somewhere, you can't get it. But you have to, if people have to travel, they need to hold money. You can't take Naira abroad. So the regulators and our banks must ensure they don't keep on creating market for the black market. And so the central bank should bite the bullet and understand that they have to make it efficient for legitimate transactions to be satisfied to a very large extent. The black market must be killed in Nigeria. That's the truth. It must go. We have got to that epoch right now, because if we don't do this, of course, it's easy to predict how the Naira will get to 1,000. But it will not be based on international trade. It will be based on mere speculation and, if you like, recklessness. So all of this, like manufacturers need money. Sometimes they have to wait for months. They'll be giving them bit by bit. If you can determine that this transaction is legitimate and all of that, the central bank should be ready to meet those needs. Of course, we know there are people who come up with firms, import firms. However, they just intend to round trip the money. They send it to their friends abroad. The money comes back. They can be caught. This is the age of technology. We can actually catch those people. And of course, the central bank too must look inwards, because everywhere in Nigeria there are people trying to game the system, including regulators, people who work with regulators, trying to game the system. But again, like I said before, we're only shooting ourselves in the leg. So things like the manufacturers, they must meet those ones. If the 4,000, 5,000 BTA is not enough for some people, there needs to be a big meeting to determine exactly how we handle this transaction, so that people don't have to go through a whole long rigmarole before satisfying little transactions, and then they now end up in the black market. You cannot ban the black market where you cannot actually make your official market very, very efficient. But we have got to that epoch right now where we must do the needful. And manufacturers must be satisfied to a large extent, and we should have to have technological-based solutions that will weed out those who are trying, and also prosecute those who are trying to game. That is what is done anywhere in the world. You cannot go to US and start to game the dollar and try to crash the dollar. The FBI will take you out anywhere in the world. You can't do that in the UK. But so we take some things for granted and take some liberties in our country, and that is part of why we are here today. So, but I also see that, view that the 44 items that have been restricted from FX, on the day that the central bank, decides to sit up and get the political backing for this, the political backing is most important. Mind you, the fact that, almost everybody in our public service who is somebody that they spend dollars. So at that point, you have expressed no confidence in the Naira. But the day they do that, the 44 items, they may need to abolish them and add tariffs to them as a way of restricting their importation. You may give a very high tariff. That is what the US does. There are sectors that they protect, like steel and coal. If even the agricultural sector, well protected with tariff. So we may have to jettison the idea of 44 items being banned and go down the way of tariff. as it were. So there's all sorts of possibilities, and I also see even those 44 items, some of which things like vegetable, tomatoes, toothpick and co. There's no reason why we cannot produce this in our own country. Even water is one of those items. People still want to import water into Nigeria. I mean, for crying out loud, I believe that we can actually produce most of those. Those are opportunities for businesses in this country.
Okay, now, Mr. Fashu, you've also made mention of some of the predictions that we have had made the rounds. Some predict that we are going to see the Naira hit as low as 1,000 Naira if nothing much is done to redirect the tide at which we are facing now. And then we also have cautions from bodies like the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank saying that Nigeria has to devalue its currency. Now, going by all of these indices, what do you also have to say to the segment of the market or analysts that believe that the Central Bank of Nigeria is still acting coy and not necessarily taking due measures to ensure that this free fall of the Naira is checked?
Now, there's two arguments. You mentioned the guys like the IMF, World Bank, who say just devalue. Listen, we've been devaluing since 1986. Where has it got us? There are some things that they clearly ignore, which is very unfortunate. And we have economists in this country who just take whatever it is they say, hook, line, and sinker. I'm not one of those. There's what is called the Marshall-Lerner condition in economics. It says that you can only succeed when you devalue your currency where your export is elastic, is price elastic, meaning that as a result of devaluing, your customers abroad, the international community, they'll buy more of what you sell. Our main export is still crude oil. Crude oil the volume is not even determined by us, but by OPEC. We're not even meeting up to OPEC standards and quota, you know, and neither is the price. The price is market determined fully. So devaluation does not work for us. And you cannot devalue and also leave your markets open for everything without tariffs, barriers of sort. Because a country, otherwise your people are going to starve. Now, if you're asking Nigeria to keep on devaluing, what you're just saying is that the cost of goods in the open market should continue because we're still largely an import economy. I just told you now that only the things that we produce, we have like cocoa, we sell about $300 million dollars worth of cocoa every year. About 350 million. Oil seeds like sesame seeds and co, we sell about 280 to 300 million and so on. But after that, there's very little left, you know. But on the import side, we bring in wheat alone. The wheat that we bring into this country is about $2 billion every year. And now that Russia and Ukraine is at war, you can see the price of bread going up. If you devalue the Naira, what is likely going to happen, of course, is that spike in inflation. And if inflation comes in, and we're talking about maybe triple-digit inflation, people cannot even feed themselves. You're going to see a scenario where, there'll be riots on the street. So, but what can we do? What countries do is that they work hard and add value to what it is they're doing and challenge their people to produce more, okay? If we can fulfill most of what our people need, it will not matter that much what our exchange rate is doing. But the reason why our exchange rate is so influential all over the country, all over the economy, is because we produce little. So it's down to all of us. People should take advantage, and politicians should get very serious. And like I said earlier, they are the ones actually leading the charge in spending dollar, in sending their children abroad and all of that. They are the ones showing that they don't have confidence in the country. So to a large extent, I would say that we've been devaluing since 1986, and it has only sent us to hell in this country. Now, whereas we know that the Naira is not at par with the dollar in terms of the productivity of the two economies and the economic complexity, US is number 8 on the economic complexity index, of 2021. All right, Nigeria is number 127 or 128. That's a world apart. Okay, so we have to be careful about some of these things that come and just say, and if we devalue the Naira, for example, now from 400 and let's say 430 thereabout, and take it to maybe 700, I understand that the rates are, the black market rates are crashing now to about 500 to 600 or thereabout, 595 to 600 and something. Now, as I speak to you, we don't know whether that's going to be sustained, but if we do the right thing, it should be sustained. But if we had devalued the Naira to 710, like even the Association of Bureau de Change was saying last week that they should abolish the official rate. Unfortunately, unfortunate statement from them anyway. What it means is if you take it to 710, the black market will go to 900. And if you go to 900, it goes to 1,002. It's a case of the dog chasing his tail. You will never catch it. And of course, we know where the demands are coming from. Corruption money is paid also in dollars. So I think that what the central bank should be doing now is to really, really try to isolate what are the trade-driven demands, whether in terms of invisible trade, travel from even paying school fees abroad, health care abroad, and all of that. We need to really isolate what exactly is what. Well, when you're mixing up all of those legitimate transactions with demand for somebody wants to pay a gunja somewhere, he rushes to the market, wants to buy dollar, or people are trying to launder illegal money and all of that, then you have a problem. But you see, the moment we can actually secure the legitimate part of the transaction, we should totally make illegal the existence of a black market. And let people know that, look, if you are caught in the black market, anything can happen. Anything can happen. You see a situation where even policemen will be hanging around there trying to make a scapegoat of someone, even if it's to collect something of their own. And nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. So we have to gravitate this market back to the official market, and let people be able to do their legitimate transaction through the banks and the BDCs, which I don't think they should be up to 6,000. I don't think we need more than 50 good branded one and well-established one with full corporate governance all around the country. And I say that also, this idea of every Nigerian owning a BDC, owning a DOM account, it's not done anywhere. Yeah, it's not done anywhere, because that means that it's so easy for every Dixon Mahanari to short the Naira. What you're doing here is shorting the Naira, So the government must actually think about this and also come out with a policy that sets a time for people to say, look, change your money back into Naira, okay, within a certain period of time. And the central bank can also give some sort of incentive for that. For example, the central bank is giving RT 200 people, exporters, they're giving them 65 Naira extra, okay, on their money for now. You can give the same kind of incentive and say, within the next 1 month, we are closing any DOM account that is not business related. If you want to maintain a DOM account, you have to show that based on your business, you are doing the kind of business that attracts that kind of the foreign exchange and all of that. But a normal person just keeps millions in the DOM account. They have to change it back to Naira, give them some incentive. You probably find out that the central bank will be awash with dollars. And that way they can crash the rate. I'm giving free advice here, if you ask me. But, we have got to that epoch right now. People should go out and study what happened in the Indian black money scenario. But we cannot continue doing this to our economy. We don't even know what we're doing. If speculators, illegal money, corrupt people and all of that are jacking us all over the place, and then we don't know what hit us. So we need to get serious. And the president should be notified about this.
We definitely need to get serious and also remember that the state of the nation's currency is a state of how the economy truly fares. Thank you so much for your time on the show today. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, Dr. Tope Fashua.
You're welcome.